Welcome to those who are joining us for this series of new podcasts on all things micro and SME related. In this podcast, we will explore the challenges that SMEs face in trying to secure either funding for growth or even funding for survival. Regrettably, we timed this podcast with a conflict that's just kicked off in the Middle East. Whilst it seems a world away, because we live in such an interconnected world, what happens over there affects us over here. To help us explore some of these issues, I'd love to welcome my good friend Jez Walsh, who's an old friend to BEF. And can I just start by saying, welcome, Jez. How are you?
Yeah, thank you very much. Looking forward to this.
Yeah. So just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, where you come from, and tell us about your business and what your business does.
Okay, my name is Jez Walsh. I am founder and managing director of Innergy Group. We are an industrial energy supplier. So from our head office in Leeds, we supply thousands of customers across the north of England with various energy products. We have 6 offices, Manchester in the west, over to Goole in the east. Have I got that compass right?
Yeah, I think so. Roughly.
Sounds right. We started trading in 2006, so 20 years this week.
Right, this week.
This week, yeah.
Congratulations.
Actually. And we took funding from BEF, as you remember, around 2008.
Yeah. Well, we'll explore that in a moment. So just give us a little bit more about the business. So when you say energy products, what does that boil down to? What are the kind of things that you sell that people would recognise?
So it's primarily transportable energy. Bottled gas, colour gas and flow gas. We are flow gas's largest distributor in the UK.
Okay.
We supply 400 or 500 pubs with drinks dispense gases. So that's the gas that puts fizz in your lager or your bitter or your Diet Coke. We supply welding gases to manufacturers. And if you went to a petrol forecourt, everything outside the shop, AdBlue, Screen Wash, coal, logs, bottled gases. We supply about 400 forecourts across the north of England with those.
So products. All of those things. So that's an interesting term, transportable energy. Yes. All right, we'll hang on to that, and that's great. Thank you. Now, so as you've already touched on, we've known each other for a while, 18 years ago, and we got involved with supporting Innergy. Right. Yeah. Just explain how BEF came to play a part in that journey, and how that impacted on your business.
Sure. We had immediate growth. By the end of year 1, we were on a run rate of about 600,000. And when we set up, we had no issues raising funding. Back then, money was cheap and very available. And it was almost a buyer's market. So with my savings, matched funding from one of the high street banks, we set off. What we didn't realise was that growth costs money. So you have cash tied up in an ever-increasing stock. Because we deal primarily with commercial customers, they want credit terms, but our staff were weekly paid. We were very good at selling energy, and we were very good at delivering energy. We were no good at getting paid. So we very quickly ran out of cash. And we went back to our funder, and they were very supportive because we had a really good story to tell around growth, and they could see what we were doing wrong. So they extended some more funds to us. So we continued to grow. And our plan had always been to go into bulk LPG. The difference, Steve, is that our primary product is cylinders, gas cylinders in the back of a van delivered to a customer's premises. Bulk LPG is a tanker full of gas going to a customer's premises that has a tank.
Yeah.
And we wanted to get into that market. But these tanks are costly things.
So you wanted to go big volume. You didn't want to be doing the small stuff. You wanted to be doing the big stuff.
Exactly right. And that was always the ambition. So we'd started exploring options. We were talking to funders, getting a really positive response because at this time we were on track to turn over $1 million in our second year. We'd learnt our lessons about cash flow and profitability. So we were very credible. And we were inundated with offers from all the major high street banks to lend us this money. And we were so confident that we went and ordered some of these tanks, about £100,000 worth of tanks. And then Northern Rock. Northern Rock went under. Lehman Brothers went under. and the phone calls stopped.
Mm.
And then no one would return our calls. Unfortunately, we'd contractually committed to buying £100,000 worth of tanks, and we didn't have £100,000 worth of cash. So we were in trouble. And then we came across you.
Yeah.
I think you were relatively new at the time.
Yeah, so 2004, so we were only 4 years in at that point.
Yeah, so we were pointed in your direction, and I remember clearly coming down to see you and Richard Wharton and a third guy. Was it Brian?
Yeah, Brian Hatcher. So Richard Wharton and Brian Hatcher were two guys who used to work for us, seasoned bank managers, kind of experience beyond experience. They knew what they were talking about.
Yeah. But your positioning at the time didn't really feel comfortable to me, in that it was almost lending of last resort kind of positioning. And actually you were our last resort, but I didn't feel comfortable admitting that. So I came down and I presented the business to you guys. And what struck me was a number of things. Firstly, the capability in the room. So as you rightly said, Brian and Richard, very experienced, very capable, and you were there. And but also there was a lot of questions about values. That wasn't a question we'd been asked before.
Yeah.
And we did share a lot of values about being employee-led.
Yeah.
Transparent and honest. And it felt comfortable. The cost of the funding was higher than we would have initially got, but certainly we felt that you were doing us a good deal. The terms weren't onerous. So there was a limited personal guarantee, a reasonable personal guarantee. And we had the added benefit of Richard Wharton was appointed to our board.
Yeah, so you had Richard Wharton appointed to your board to offer help and support.
That's right, as a mentor.
And sadly for you've had him ever since.
Yes, I was at lunch with him yesterday for a board meeting.
And Richard, this is for you. Stop sponging off this poor guy. So thanks for that. So essentially, 2008, credit crunch comes along, nothing you could do about it, entirely out of your hands, nothing to do to reflect your business, none of that.
Yeah.
It wasn't a measure of how good your business was or anything. It's just environmental factors completely out of your control. And there you were, you needed 100 grand.
Yeah.
Now, that's a fantastic story, which I want to just explore where it took you from there, because you had that specific need. We lent you the money. You did the business. You put in these silos. You started supplying all the gas to all these, essentially for forklift truck drivers or forklift truck machines.
That's right. Yeah, forklift trucks. Yeah,
forklift trucks. And that was very successful. And now we are 18 years on. The money's been paid back. We've maintained a relationship since then. And we've had the joy of seeing you develop the business into what it is today. 6 units across the whole of the north of England, being the transportable energy business that you are. So just explain where you are now. So £2,008 million turnover, 18 years later, 6 units. So just give us a snapshot of where the business is now.
Well, we've been on rapid growth since then. We've made 8 external acquisitions. I bought my business partner out, assisted my business enterprise fund to go through that very tricky process. That was an additional benefit that we had. So now, without going into too much detail on the numbers, we are a multiple of millions. We employ dozens of people, and we're back on the acquisition trail. We hadn't made one for 5 or 6 years due to environmental, economic issues. But we've just made one again in January. It was a relatively small business, 300,000 or 400,000 turnover, but a really good fit for us. And we've got 3 or 4 in the pipeline, significant businesses, 2 or 3, 4 million turnover businesses that we're looking to acquire. Yeah.
And we were just talking about it before we had the camera switched on. And one of the big problems for entrepreneurs, they have what they call the kind of success hump in the early days. And it's not because the business is no good, it's the entrepreneur goes off the boil a bit. But you've never been like that. Kind of what drives you, Jez, to keep going?
Well, actually, I would correct that and say I have had periods where running the business day to day hasn't interested me. It hasn't fired me up. And I've been advised by some very close, successful business people that I need another project.
Okay.
So that period between 2019 and 2026, or 7 years without an acquisition, became a bit staid for me. I did everything that you're supposed to do as an entrepreneur. Surrounded myself with really competent management, a really good leadership team.
Yeah.
Invest heavily in them. We have an EIS in place, which is an employee incentive scheme, and really put infrastructure into the business that means we are in a position to scale very quickly. But that doesn't really motivate me as much as the acquisitions.
Right, okay.
So there was a number of years we couldn't make acquisitions. One of the most challenging periods of our business journey was in 2019 when our primary gas supplier pulled the plug on our
I remember
supply.
you telling me about this.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
Is that when the hair was lost?
yeah. And the chins were gained, I think.
You were with one gas supplier and you moved to another gas supplier,
Yes.
which you did actually mention was Flowgas at the start. Yeah. But obviously they kind of have a bit of a monopoly, don't they? So
Yes.
to be presented with a fait accompli, that shows a degree of resilience, clearly.
Yeah, like any small business that's operated over the last 20 years, look at what we've faced.
Yeah.
We've faced the economic crisis 2008, Brexit,
yeah,
once in a lifetime, worldwide pandemic. We've had the supply chain crisis caused by Brexit, Ukraine war, COVID.
So, and hey presto, we've got another one.
Yeah. So if you've been going for over the last 20 years and you're still going, you're quite a robust person and you're quite a robust business. But on a specific level, yeah, we've had some really personal, business-threatening challenges.
Yeah.
And that was a key one. We got 1 working day's notice that they were turning off our gas supply. And not only that, on the following Monday, their sales team hit the Yorkshire region.
Okay.
And we're approaching our customers at prices cheaper than they would sell us to. So customers who were buying 6 cylinders a week were being offered lower prices than us who were buying 3,000 cylinders a week. They were telling people that we'd gone out of business. We were in administration, or we'd gone bankrupt, or...
It seems that somebody got it in for you, and or the business, and anyway. But you came back from that, and you managed to get. Did you have a whiff of it? How did you manage to pull that off? Flick from one supply to the next. I know you've told me, but
so we've always maintained relationships within the market. There was really only 2 or 3 options that we had, and we had to negotiate the new supply arrangements from a position of weakness, which was a challenge in itself. We were very fortunate that number 2 in the industry, who had a strong relationship with, they'd been after our business for quite some time. And strategically, we'd always managed these alternative suppliers, maintain good relationships with them. And fortunately for us, number 2 in the industry made an offer to us that was very reasonable. And so we're still with them now. We're their biggest customer by some distance. They've been rewarded from that initial offer with our loyalty. We have a very transparent, very strong working relationship with them at the cost of our original supplier, who we've taken a lot of business from subsequently and continue to do so.
Yeah. And you're not pleased about that at all, are you?
Not at all. I did pull that email out the other day.
Oh, did you?
I did, yeah. It still motivates me.
Well, that's another interesting point I want to just touch on. So you've been going for 18 years, and I know 18 years sounds a long time, but to be the kind of business that you are, one of the joys that it has been for me to see the way that your business has developed is, in a selfish way, to see that you have moved into different areas and you have created jobs and you have created wealth and you have created economy within some of the more challenging areas of the UK, which is part of the mission that we have to support businesses in that way. And I know that you have your own personal satisfaction from that. But the key thing I wanted to focus on, Jez, I mean, we've been working for 18 years together. I've not lent you any money for a while, and that kind of doesn't matter. But what's key to me is, or what I clearly understand, is you're good at relationships. You're good relationally. How critical that is that in a business context?
Well, that is a business, isn't it? So whether that be internal relationships with your colleagues and your suppliers and your customers, or your external relationships with your network, so that might be advisors or funders, or generally just people have the same value and ambitions and aspirations as you do.
Just touch on that. So for you, the same values and ambitions, that's key to you.
Yes.
Yeah. So you will make a choice not to have relationships or do business with people where you cannot align your values. How much do you see in the business world people of principle and integrity? Would you say I mean, clearly for you it's paramount, but do you see a paucity of that in the business world, or do you generally see amongst the community, because you obviously seek them out, that it's there?
That's a very good question. My theory around that is that within the business world, there are two types. There are business builders and wealth generators. And wealth generators will always go for the most profitable outcome, despite the consequences.
Yeah. So and to sacrifice relationships.
Yes. Yeah, and there are plenty of
good
people
outcomes.
Like that. Yeah. And that's not necessarily a criticism of those people. I have friends who are those type of people, serial entrepreneurs, who are just focused on the value at the exit. Very, very focused, very capable people. Business builders, I think, take pride in building a business from the roots up, taking on people and developing them, watching them develop within your business, being able to pay decent wages, build careers, and it's very reputational. So the reputation of Innergy is really, really important to me. We are a fantastic employer, and we've got the independent measurements to see that, and we're hoping to hear from Sunday Times imminently regarding that.
So that clearly is important to you.
It's our number one. So our number one ethos at Innergy is customer delight, internal and external customer delight. So everyone has customer satisfaction.
Yeah.
Satisfaction. Satisfied is dull, isn't it? If you're satisfied with something. If you ask my wife how she felt about our marriage, and she said,
where you were going there.
And she said she was satisfied. Well, would I take that? Depends. But if she said she was delighted with the marriage.
Yeah.
And we want to have that kind of response from our customers and our colleagues. We want them to be delighted to be serviced by Innergy. We want them to be delighted to work at Innergy. And that costs time and money, and it has to be really, really focused. And that differentiates us from a lot of our competitors, particularly the big competitors.
But interestingly, you're not doing it because you monetize that. You're doing that because that's something you believe in, but there is a positive outcome from it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You couldn't do that just for a cost. There absolutely is a positive outcome of that. So we have been approached regarding potential acquisitions because we look after our staff. And when you're an entrepreneur and you've built a business from scratch, you have staff who, you know their wife's name or the husband's name, the children's name. You send them presents for their birthday and you watch them get married and divorced and everything. You've grown up with these people and they become friends. So it's very important to a lot of the entrepreneurs whom we've bought businesses from that their staff are going to be looked after. And we can offer that better than any of the big competitors.
So a values-based business isn't bad business, it's good business. I just want to touch on briefly the Goldman Sachs experience as well before we wrap things up. But now as we know, we've also had a common journey with the Goldman Sachs, the 10,000 small business program. So we were approached in the early days to help set up the program across Yorkshire. And then guess what? The Southerners came along and took it after all we'd done all the work. So you were on the first official cohort. Second official cohort. And then there was the pre-cohort that existed as well. How important, because coming back to the relationships, how important for you has been the Goldman Sachs program in helping you maintain and develop yourself personally? Because again, you're not in it because you can get bored doing this day in and day out. You've got to have something that motivates you.
That's right.
How important has the Goldman Sachs program been to you for that?
It has been transformational to me and to my business. So there's that old adage, isn't there, which I fully believe in, which is if you want to be a lion, you need to hang with the pack. So if you're surrounded by people with the same values and aspirations and experiences as you, I don't know how much value you can put on that. So some of my closest friends who I holiday with every year now are from the Goldman Sachs program.
Right.
We're doing the alphabet: Amsterdam, Budapest, Krakow, Dubrovnik, Edinburgh, Florence last year, Granada in Easter. I live in my house because a Goldman Sachs colleague told me that it was available for sale. I drink in my local pub with 4 or 5 Goldman Sachs alumni. I'm highly engaged with it. It made me a better business manager, significantly. It gave me the tools to make the business better, but it also made me a better person.
Yeah.
Because I was surrounded with people who shared the same values and aspirations.
Yeah, and so you were investing in yourself, and it's paid dividends.
Some of the outcomes of that, Steve, I've met 2 prime ministers, 4 or 5 chancellors of the exchequers, been to the House of Commons numerous times. I was at Downing Street last year. We've met world famous entrepreneurs for dinners and lunches. It has been absolutely transformational.
Yeah, yeah. Right, okay, so we're going to wrap things up now, but before we do, where is Innergy going? Where's the next big step for you and the organisation?
I don't have an exit plan.
Right.
So I want to continue growth. And there's a lot more acquisitions that we can do. I think we can invest in our own assets. So filling plants and cylinders and tankers and tanks. Where we invest those will be determined how much finance we can raise, how much risk I'm prepared to take, because my appetite for risk is diluted now.
Yeah, that's good, because you built all this, you don't want to ruin it all.
Exactly. So I don't have a defined exit. I have a good leadership team who I intend to continue to develop to run the business, which will give me more freedom. And if we're being completely honest, I'm approaching retirement age. That needs to be a consideration.
You don't look anything like that or old enough. No. Well, Jez, it's always a delight to spend time with you and chat with you. And I'm so thrilled to see the way the business has developed over the years. And we're delighted that we played a very small part in that development.
A very important part. It's quite possible, Steve, that if it wasn't Business Enterprise Fund, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah, well, but you are. And you've managed to be very successful, and we're really pleased about that. So thanks for that, and thanks for your time, and thanks for tuning in for this podcast, and we look forward to seeing you next time.